Have you ever stopped to think about how a massive factory can churn out thousands, even tens of thousands of identical products day after day without everything descending into total chaos? Well, let's dive in and pull back the curtain on the one single document that makes it all happen. I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. We're talking about coordinating all the raw materials, the machines, the people, the timing. It's a massive puzzle. How do you get from a huge pile of cocoa beans to a perfectly wrapped chocolate bar, and then do it 9,999 more times, flawlessly?
And there it is. That's our answer, the production order. Now, this isn't just some boring piece of paperwork. You got to think of it as the single source of truth for the factory. It's the master plan, the director's script for absolutely everything that's about to happen on the floor.
So to really get a feel for this, we're going to follow the story of a brand new product launch. Let's call it the Trial New Chocolate Bar. We'll see exactly how the production order guides this bar from just an idea all the way to a finished product ready to ship.
It sounds almost too obvious, right? But this is the absolute foundation. The production order has to be crystal clear about the final product. No ambiguity allowed.
So the what is actually broken down into two key parts. First, you've got the product, or the material. In our case, that's the physical Trial New Chocolate Bar. But second, you have the activity. That's all the work being done, like how many hours the big mixing machines need to run. So it's both the physical thing and the effort that goes into making it. Okay, so we know what we're making. The next logical question is, when? Factories run on super tight schedules, and the production order is basically its command central calendar. And this is absolutely crucial. The order doesn't just list a date. It tracks the planned dates, the ideal schedule in a perfect world, right up against the confirmed dates, which is what actually happened in the real world. This is literally where the plan meets reality.
And yep, here's a super common scenario. The plan was to kick things off on October 1st, but in reality, for whatever reason, work didn't actually start until the 2nd. That one-day delay, it gets captured right here in the production order. This turns it from a static plan into a living, breathing document that tracks how we're performing.
All right, let's move on to our next section, which covers two more really critical questions. Exactly how many of these things are we making? And, maybe just as important, who's footing the bill for all of it?
Exactly. Making one chocolate bar is one thing. Making 10,000 of them, that's a whole different ballgame. The production order has to specify the exact quantity needed for this entire run.
And just like we saw with the dates, the order tracks plan versus actual numbers here too. So the goal was 10,000 bars, but at the end of the day, only 9,800 good ones were produced. That 200-unit shortfall is vital information. Why'd that happen? Was there a bunch of waste? Did a machine break down? The order doesn't just give you the number, it flags that there's a problem to investigate.
Ah, yes, the question that's always on everyone's mind, right? Manufacturing costs money. You've got materials, labor, electricity, you name it. The production order has to assign all those costs to the right place. So here's the bottom line. Every single production run has a financial owner. For our Trial New Chocolate Bar, since it's a new product, it makes sense that all the costs get charged to the R&D department's cost center. If this was a regular, established product, it would probably go to the main plant's cost center instead. The order makes sure there's total financial accountability. All right, we have covered the what, the when, the how much, and the for whom. Now we get to the really fun part. How do we actually make the thing? This section is all about the recipe and the tools for the job. This is where the production order gets super detailed. It contains the exact, step-by-step instructions. And honestly, a great way to remember this is to just think of it like a recipe from a cookbook and all the kitchen equipment you're going to need to follow it.
So the whole process breaks down into three key parts. First, you need your ingredients: the cocoa, the sugar, the milk. That's your bill of material. Second, you need your kitchen appliances and your chef: the mixing vats, wrapping machines, and the people running them. That's your routing. And finally, you have to do some taste testing along the way, right? Those are the built-in quality checks, making sure every single bar is perfect.
So, we've gone through the whole process, we've made our chocolate bar. Now we get to the moment of truth for any business, the final bill. Did we stick to our budget?
And the production order gives us the final scorecard. Look at this. The plan was to make each chocolate bar for $1.20, but the actual cost came in at $1.35. Maybe the price of cocoa went up. Or maybe, just maybe, that one-day delay we saw earlier forced the company to pay for expensive overtime.
That 15-cent difference, that's called the cost variance.
And listen, it is so much more than just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a story. It tells managers exactly what went right and what went wrong, giving them the insights they need to get better and more efficient on the very next run.
So, we've followed the entire journey of our chocolate bar. Let's wrap this all up by putting together a really simple toolkit so you can remember the core pieces of any production order you ever come across.
This is what I like to call the factory storyline. It is by far the easiest way to remember the 6 key questions that a production order answers. Just walk through the story of making something, step by step, and you will hit every single one of these points naturally.
Now, for those of you who like the numbers, the order gives you 3 key formulas at a glance: how to calculate the delay, the quantity variance, and that all-important final cost variance. It's really just the core math behind the story we've been telling.
Or if you want the ultimate, simplest memory hack, just remember this. WHFRC. What, when, how much, for whom, resources, as in how it's made, and cost. That's the entire production story in a nutshell.
Because that's really what this is all about. A production order isn't just a technical document. It's a narrative. It's a story of a plan, of execution, and of the final outcome. It's the story of how a simple idea becomes a real, physical product